Hello everybody, it's Julia here from the Highly Sensitive Tarot, and I'm here today to do a VR. This is to Simon at the Hermit's Cave, and the name of this tag is Tarot Tubers A to Z Next Generation. So Tarot Tubers A to Z Next Generation. So I watched Simon's video, obviously. I've also seen this tag on Mad Witch's channel, Patsy T and MA the Grey, and I really enjoyed watching all of those. I don't know about all of you, but I'm always eternally curious about everybody else. It seems so strange that we're all sat here in our homes doing our thing, and we just don't know anything really very much about each other, really, do we? So I'm just always endlessly curious about other people, so I thought I'd have a go at this tag. So this is obviously an A to Z of different questions, and the letter A is author. So this is, who is your favourite author? What is your favourite author? And that's so hard. Some of these questions I'll be able to answer really quickly and easily, and some of them I will not be able to keep to one thing, I think is likely. So I'm going to try, I shall stick to one thing for the author. I mean, you can see behind me, I have books everywhere. This bookcase goes across the whole of one room. I've got a big bookcase in my hall, big one in my bedroom. I have books in the cupboards, I have books everywhere. I read a lot of factual books, but also a lot of fiction books as well. And I think really, overall, my favourite author of all time is John Connolly. So I wish I could sit here and say that it was some sort of classical author, something serious and very important, but it's John Connolly, and it's this series of books. How long have these books been going on for? Let's have a look. So look, if you look here, and as you can see that, all of the books there, he must have written, we must be up to 16 or 17 books in this series, and this is called the Charlie Parker series, and it's crime, but it's kind of supernatural, mysterious crime. The name of this book is A Game of Ghosts, and it says on the back, Charlie Parker is a dead man walking. His reckoning has been a long time coming, and yet he has survived. He is an unstoppable force for justice and a mortal enemy to powers dark beyond imagining. I just love it. So yeah, it's John Connolly, and there's this whole series of books. I think the first book in the series was called Every Dead Thing. There must be 16 or 17 books. John Connolly's also written a few other books that I've read. He wrote a sort of teenagers series called the Samuel Jackson stories. Yeah, he's written tons and tons of books, but I just love this. It can be quite dark and quite difficult, quite triggering in places. There's some unpleasant subjects, but the detective in this is like a force for good. He is just this sort of unwavering force for good, really. And yeah, it says Connolly is a creative genius who has few equals in either horror fiction or the mystery genre. He is able to successfully combine crime and horror and shows no sign of waning. So there we go, John Connolly, I love him. B is for my biggest regret. Well, I guess I try not to have regrets. I don't see the point really about many regrets. I think that as people, we generally try to do the best that we can in any given situation, and sometimes it doesn't work out, and you look back and with hindsight you think, I wish I'd done that differently, I wish I hadn't done that. But I think if you are a conscious person and you make decisions with a good heart, then there's no point having regrets, is there? I suppose if I was to have to come up with one thing that still does annoy me that I did in the past, it was that when I'd been travelling as a teenager in my late teens, my early 20s, I had taken lots and lots of photographs of my travels, and those are in the days where you had a camera with a little, I don't even know what they're called, a little thing that you'd put in that had the film on it, and you'd either get 21 photos or 32 photos on this film that you'd put into the camera. Well, I had about 6 of those saved up from all my travels, and at some point in my travels I just got so much to carry, and for some bizarre reason I threw these away. I think I was upset at the time about something. It was usually the way with me. It will be an emotional decision that was impulsive, and I threw all these films away. And I suppose if I regret anything, it's that. Very annoying, Julia, that one. C is for car and music. What do I listen to in the car? Well, I sing a lot in the car. It's probably one of the few places that I do sing, actually. I tend to sing quite loudly in the car, but very badly. I mean, I can't sing. And I have a Spotify playlist that I listen to. I subscribe to Spotify, and so I have several playlists, and I can connect that up to my car, and I listen to them, and it can be anything from, I don't know, David Gray, Portishead, Shalimar, old disco-y stuff, Fleetwood Mac, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles. I have really quite an eclectic taste, I guess, but really nothing modern, nothing particularly modern. D is for divination, and do I use any other systems of divination other than tarot cards? And really all I use other than tarot cards is oracle cards. I have maybe 30 decks of oracle cards, and most readings that I do, I tend to pull an oracle card as well. I find they can give some sort of structure and some more clarity to a reading. But other than that, nothing else. E is for what would I eat as a last meal? Well, if it was my last meal, I'm not sure that I would be very hungry. I'd probably be feeling quite sick. But if I was able to eat something, it would be Indian food. I would have to have poppadoms, onion bhajis with tamarind sauce, a chicken tikka biryani, maybe something like sagaloo. Indian food, it would be Indian food. F is for fears, whether rational or irrational. Well, my God. In the course of my life, there have been so many. Currently, at this time in my life, there are still a fair few irrational fears that I have, anxieties, I guess. The sea. I don't like deep water. I don't like noisy water, which, you know, the sea can be. I can find that quite overwhelming. I'm the same with strong winds. If winds are too loud, that can cause me quite a lot of anxiety. I also can be the same about fire. that can cause me quite a lot of anxiety. Although I obviously would love a fire in my home, a real fire, but I mean, you know, a big bonfire or something can be quite scary to me. Loud noises, heights, spiders. um, I don't know, some of those things are rational and some of them are irrational, aren't they? I'm terrified of the dentist, but that's quite a rational fear for me these days because maybe about 10 years ago I needed to have a root canal and a crown done, and my dentist butchered my mouth, really, to be honest. He burst through my cavity into my sinus cavity, and all the Milton, all the disinfectant he was using to clean it out went into my sinus cavity and into my face, and it burned all the inside of my face, and my face blew up like this. It was hanging like this. I had to have so many antibiotics and further treatments, and the misery and the pain and the trauma of that still affects me at the dentist, to be honest. I have to kind of sedate myself to go, and for anything that I was going to have done that was, you know, serious work, I'd have to be sedated properly, put to sleep, you know. So, but I think that's a fairly rational fear given what's happened to me. But yeah, I think I have a lot of sensory overload. So for me, I can have a lot of fears and worries that other people would think were quite irrational, but to me, they can seem very rational. G is for game to play, my favourite game to play. Well, I love cards. I like a game of cards. When I was a kid, I remember my dad teaching me how to play cribbage and things like rummy, and I was quite good at cards. I also really like board games, things like Cluedo, Monopoly. I used to enjoy all that kind of thing, really, when my son was young. I don't get really too many opportunities for games like that anymore. I don't play any sort of video games or anything. So yeah, I think probably if I was to pick something, it'd be a game of cards. H is for favourite holiday time. Well, if I'm honest, none of them make a huge impact on me these days. Sentimentally, when I was a kid, Christmas was always lovely. You know, I grew up in a family that didn't have a huge amount of money, and so Christmas was a big deal. You know, me and my brother would have a whole armchair each of presents. It would be piling high with presents, and we'd have an armchair each, and it was just lovely. My mum would buy all sorts of sweets and chocolates and things that we wouldn't get ordinarily, and there was always good things to watch on the TV. And so I suppose sentimentally I have a lot of good memories of Christmas, and I had a lot of good memories of Christmas when my son was young. But if I'm honest, I don't really do any of the holidays. I mean, I kind of follow the pagan calendar, the wheel of the year. I'll do little blessings and little rituals at various times of the year. I follow the cycles of the moon. But if I'm honest, I don't know. None of them. It's not like Easter, Christmas, Halloween. They don't really register with me that much anymore as sort of holiday times, I suppose. I is an interest somebody might not know about me. Well, I think there's two things that come to mind. You might not know I'm as interested in natural health and holistic health and well-being as I am. I have quite a lot of knowledge about herbs, vitamins, supplements, all kinds of natural health things, self-help things. You know, I've had fibromyalgia since I was in my mid-20s, so I'm quite anti big pharma. I'm quite anti medication. You know, they're things that I only take when I'm desperate. So I rely quite heavily on natural things and self-help things. But the other thing, and this has been an enduring passion really all my life, and I'll show you this, is anything mysterious. This book was bought for me, you can see there, Usborne book, Monsters, Ghosts and UFOs. This book was bought for me when I was very small. I don't know what age, very small. But I was just obsessed with it, and I think it's what started off my love of anything mysterious. There's some bits in this book that I just remember reading some of this stuff over and over again and being like, you know, that, like, for instance, these two photographs here, they were taken in Norfolk, where I live. You know, they were taken in the county that I live in. Just so many interesting things. all these places where there's ghosts and oh, there's just all sorts in here. Unlikely ghosts, where ghosts gather, strange customs, monsters, a dictionary of monsters. Oh, there's so many things. The Loch Ness Monster, the Yeti, you know, Bigfoot. All these things I was just completely and utterly fascinated with as a kid. And if I'm honest, I still am. You know, that on the bookcase above where you can't see, there's lots of books about that kind of subject. So, and that's something that I look at a lot on YouTube. I've sat in a psychic circle myself for a time, and I'm able to see auras and colours and energies around people. I've seen many spirits and interacted with many spirits in my time, so that's obviously a really big interest and curiosity of mine. J is for joy. What brings me joy? Well, the springtime, the sun, sitting in my garden listening to the birds. I've got like a little gang of sparrows and some robins and blackbirds and things that live in the hedge outside my bungalow, and I feed them and I love them. Obviously my son, my family, my friends, you know, my cat, my tarot cards, my books, my plants. I love house plants. I have a lot of house plants. Yeah, all of those sort of things really. K is for karaoke. What would you sing at karaoke? Well, never, nothing at all would I ever sing at a karaoke. Not even if I was completely drunk would I sing at a karaoke. My God, no, I can't sing. I mean, I said I sing loudly in my car, but you wouldn't want to listen to me, I can tell you. So no, there's nothing. L, what makes me laugh? Well, people generally. I'm a big people watcher. I've always loved, you know, I'm quite introverted and quite shy at times, and I love nothing more than to just sit somewhere and watch the world go by. I don't really want to be part of it particularly. I just want to sit and watch the world happen, and I just find people endlessly fascinating. I love to sit and imagine all kinds of things about them. It's sort of observational humour, I suppose, more than anything, isn't it? And I like comedians and TV shows where there's a lot of observational humour. I also like sort of old-fashioned comedies. I like old Carry On films, the Pink Panther films, Monty Python films. I like Bill Bailey as a comedian very much. I like, as TV shows, I like Peep Show and Father Ted, The Office, things like that. So yeah, I think it's really important to laugh, and actually it's something I make sure that I do as much as I can. M is for movie. What movie could I watch over and over again? Well, not too many, if I'm honest. Probably very classic type films, again, like Carry On films or Harry Potter films, Lord of the Rings, films like The Life of Brian. I mean, I must have watched that 100 times. The Pink Panther films 100 times. Yeah, that kind of thing. N is for nature. Where in nature do I like to be? Well, I don't like the sea. I don't like the seaside particularly. You know, if I was to be at the seaside, the sea would have to be like glass. I like woodland. I like trees. I like anywhere where there's a bit of water, maybe a little river or a lake, and there's trees and woodland and English countryside and just beautiful greenery everywhere. O is optimistic, my hopes for the future. Well, I suppose I'm fairly optimistic and hopeful about my own life and where I can take myself, where life will take me, but I suppose I feel quite fearful for the world in general the last few years. I don't really know what's happened. The world just seems upside down a lot of the time. It's like everything's gone wrong, you know. I don't trust any of the powers that be. I don't know. I think it's really important, the energy that we put out and our thoughts. You know, our words are like spells, aren't they? It's important to be positive. But I do despair, if I'm honest, about the way that the world is heading. I just don't really understand why it's got as awful as it has, really. Well, I do, but it's complicated, isn't it? It's very complicated. Yeah, I think our little tarot tube consumerism drama recently has been, you know, a very small aspect of all that is sort of wrong in the world, really. We're all feeling it, aren't we? You know. P is pip deck. Well, I don't have a single pip deck, not a proper pip deck anyway. I think the closest I could come to that is maybe my Stranger Things deck, which is pip-ish. That's about it. Q is for quality time. What does that mean for me? Well, that could be all sorts of things. It could be chatting to like-minded people, chatting to my friends, watching YouTube videos, making YouTube videos, sitting in my garden, reading a book, pottering, a day at home pottering on my own when I know that nobody's coming round. I'm not expecting anyone to call me. Nothing is going on, and I can just potter. I can have my back door open. I can be in and out of the garden. The sun is shining. That's heaven to me. It's just heaven. Excuse me. Reincarnation. What time period would you be reborn into and why? Well, I have quite an interesting story about reincarnation and myself, which I may tell on my channel one of these days. But if I was to just pick a time that I would want to go and visit or to be in or spend time in, I would just like to go back to some of those times in history. Like, I'd like to go back and see who built the pyramids and why and for what purpose. I'd like to go to Machu Picchu, places like that, and see them being built and why. Yeah, I think it would be a time like that. Maybe, yeah, who built Stonehenge? I'd like to go back to certain times in history of ancient civilizations, I think, where people were doing things that we now puzzle over, that we now look at and like we all disagree upon the purpose of certain things. So yeah, I think that. S is for sacred. What is sacred to me? Well, that's easy. More than anything, it's just peace and quiet, to be honest. My life up until the last few years, excuse me, my voice today. My life had been quite busy and quite chaotic. I worked as a mental health nurse. I worked as a housing support advocate. I brought up my son. I brought up my ex-partner's boys. Life had been quite busy and quite chaotic and quite relentless, I think. And what is sacred to me these days is just having my own space, having peace and quiet. I like living alone. It's peace and quiet and space. Peace and quiet and space. That's it, really. Having my own space to do the freedom, to have the freedom to do the things that I want to do without always being at the beck and call of other people or other people's needs being more important than my own. And that sounds terrible, and I don't mean it to be, but I'm going to be 55 this year, and I've had some chronic health problems for a lot of my life. And so to be in a position where I have the freedom to do as I please, really, is sacred. T is for tarot, obviously. What is my current favourite deck? Well, I think it has to be the Tarot of the Abyss, which you've got upside down there, which you all know. I don't need to show you that. I just love it. From the moment that I bought it, that it arrived, that I got it out of the packaging and I looked at it, I just love it. It makes me go, ooh. It makes me feel like that. It's an emotionally expressive deck. It tells a story. It's so easy to read. Yeah, it just makes me go, ooh. I just love it. U is unforgettable moment. Well, there's so many. I travelled across Morocco when I was 18. I spent a month in Morocco. That was an amazing experience. I rode a white stallion down the beach, which was amazing, terrifying, but amazing. I got married in a castle wearing a purple dress in Scotland. That was amazing. My son being born, obviously, it was amazing. It was traumatic, but it was amazing. Qualifying as a nurse, it was something that I didn't, from being a girl that grew up with no self-confidence or self-worth at all, no confidence in myself to ever achieve anything. It was a huge achievement to qualify as a mental health nurse. So yeah, lots of things actually. V is for vacation, my favourite holiday destination. Again, it could be so many places. My urge to travel is not as strong as it used to be. I find these days the world more and more abrasive. I find people more and more abrasive, I suppose, and I get tireder and tireder. But I went to Barcelona a few years ago and I would love to go back there. I would, all the Gaudi architecture. I was fascinated with Barcelona. I'd really quite like to go to Florence or somewhere like that. I really like art and history and old buildings, and I think I would very much enjoy that also. W is for well-being. How do you look after yourself? Well, I think I've probably already talked about that quite a lot here, really. I mean, with having fibromyalgia, I also have a diagnosis of ME, actually. I was given that diagnosis first, but they're very similar things in the way that they affect me. I have a lot of fatigue, I have a lot of pain that sort of moves around my body. I can get brain fog. I don't have a great deal of resilience, I feel these days. So I've learned really in recent years that I have to have good routines. I have to be quite boundaried. I have to pace myself. I have to attend to the basic things in life, which are the things that I neglected quite a lot when I was younger in favour of, all the other things that a working mum had to do. So, these days I make sure that I sleep well, I try to eat well, I take supplements, I use herbs, I try to get a bit of exercise where I can. I try to have downtime, alone time. I practice as much mindfulness as I possibly can. I'm getting much, much better at catching my own thought processes before they become destructive. So yeah. X is for X-ray. Have you ever broken a bone? No, I've never broken a bone. But I've had a lot of X-rays in my time. I've got some arthritis in my knee and my hip. I've had some X-rays of those, also my neck. And when I had all that drama going on with the dentist, I had a lot of X-rays of my face and my teeth as well. Y is for yourself, when you are feeling totally comfy in yourself. Well, this one, I suppose it feels a little bit sad to say, really, but I think often the only time that I really, really feel comfy in myself is when I'm alone. I know lots of people would probably answer this question by saying, when I'm with my friends or my family, but often the most authentic, the most comfy time for me is when I'm just alone, or actually when I'm around animals. I found that I'm more comfortable in my skin around animals than I am around people. So I suppose the other thing where I can actually feel very comfy in my skin is when I'm dancing, especially if I've had a drink, if I've had a glass of wine or a glass of cider or something. I do like dancing. I can't sing to save my life, but I love to dance. And that's often a really good way for me to just get grounded and feel okay in myself. And Z is, the last one is zodiac. What is your star sign? What is your astrological sign? Well, I'm a Virgo. Virgo, sun and moon. I have Virgo in 6 placements in my chart. And where I'm not a Virgo, I'm kind of a Libra. My ascendant is Scorpio. So yeah, I am very connected actually to my astrology. I feel it. It resonates quite strongly. I can see various aspects of my Virgo-ness. You know, for instance, I have Libra is in Venus, and I see that in myself, in my relationships, and in my need for fairness and balance and, you know, justice and truth. They're very strong things for me. With the Virgo bit, I'm quite logical. I'm quite neat and tidy and organised to a point. Not obsessively so anymore. I found in my life actually that the more stressed out I am, you know, the more chaotic life feels, the more need I have for things to be clean and tidy and just so. When things feel okay, I can cope with a bit more, things can be a bit more relaxed, I guess. So yeah, I really do feel my astrology very much. And my Scorpio ascendant, many people have said that they see that sort of deeper, more emotional, more mysterious side of me, I suppose. So I think that's often how I can present to people. But anyway, that's my A to Z. I hope that that was interesting for some of you. I hope I didn't waffle too much. I hope you enjoyed that. And I would really encourage any of you to do this tag. It's really, as I said, I'm very curious to get to know people, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. So yeah, have a go. And do leave me a comment. That'd be lovely. Say hello, and I shall see you all again soon. Thank you.